Howdy, guys. Attorney Walter Rudolph Hnot III. We just went live. I'm going to wait a moment to go ahead and get people inside here, and then we'll go ahead and begin things. Let's see. Oh, that's good. Just got a heads up. Okay. Okay, cool. We have officially one person in. We're going to wait until a few other people go in. We're at 3 people now. I know that there were people who reached out to me and said they really wanted to go ahead and call in and have me run questions with them, and that's fine. I had a lot of people over this week contact me specifically about difficulties that they were having with their attorneys and how they were pissed off and super rah, about the whole yada yada. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through in the spare time when people aren't calling in, specifically those things that those people were unhappy with about their attorneys, so that you kind of understand some of the things that disability attorneys do that really get people angry, things that you might want to ask your attorney about before they actually do those things. So let's say howdy to everyone. Okay, cool. Let's see. Howdy, guys. Perfect. So I got to put the phone number up there. This is where you call for me to run questions. So if you want me to go ahead and run questions with you, that's fine. No problem. No issue. Just make sure you go ahead and give me a call. I'll get the call on this phone, and then we'll go ahead and begin the process of running questions. Okay, so I want to go over some of the things that other attorneys did that really angered claimants that I got phone calls about this week, asking me what I think they should do. Because I think with the whole YouTube channel, people have kind of gotten to that point of, essentially, how do I deal with this attorney? What do I deal with them if they're really, trying to screw me over, etc. So the thing that really angered somebody today actually was that another attorney that had a Texas law firm went ahead and basically had a North Carolina or South Carolina, I forget, I think it was South Carolina based claimant get signed up with them. You should never be hiring an attorney that's more than 2 states away from you. I mean, there's exceptions to that. Like, I work with people in the Virgin Islands. I work with people who are in Puerto Rico. I work with people who are in Georgia, and maybe the state's right, adjacent to it. But you should never really be hiring people significantly beyond your state. Oh, here we go. Here's the first call. Okay, perfect. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. Are you ready to run some hearing questions?
Yes.
Perfect, madam. Quick update with the disclaimer. There's no attorney-client privilege, and make sure you use a fake name. So for today, what is your fake name?
Mary Turner.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, can you walk me through what is your dominant hand?
Right hand.
Right hand. What's your current age and date of birth?
45.
Okay, excellent.
May 17th.
Very good. Okay, good. Now, help me out with this. What is your most severe physical impairment?
Mental.
Oh, say it again. What is it again?
Mental.
Oh, the
concentration, focus.
Okay. So those are all symptoms of a mental impairment. Can you walk me through, when it comes to you, what is your most severe, let's start with that. What's your most severe mental impairment? Is it anxiety? Is it depression?
Yes, depression, anxiety, yes.
Okay. What about bipolar, mood disorder, panic attacks, things like that?
Mood disorder. I have mood disorders and panic attacks.
Okay, excellent. So now tell me, other than these mental impairments, do you have any physical impairments?
Yes. Mental is more mental.
More mental. Okay, understood. Tell me this. What was the last job that you worked within the past 15 years?
2013.
2013? Okay, and where'd you work?
Resin co-factory warehouse.
Okay, what'd you do there?
Put stickers on the clothes, and then they had me do stickers. They shipped me various places because I wasn't doing well.
Okay. Did you have any accommodations while you were working there?
Yes. Many co-workers assisted me. Yeah, they just basically had others assist me in
Okay.
completing the work because I never completed work.
Okay, so you're having some difficulties, but people were helping you out. Tell me, what were those accommodations that you received from that facility?
Well, they did my work. They did what I couldn't do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so they did the work for you. What was so difficult about the work that you needed assistance?
The pace.
The pace. Okay, keeping up with others, keeping up with the job load. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Now help me out with this. You were working there for how long?
In directions, following directions.
Follow me this. Did you get fired from there? Did you quit from there?
No, they fired me. They put me out the door.
Okay. And how long did you work there for?
Like it was like weeks. It was a temp job.
Okay, it was a temp job. Now help me out. Did you work any full-time work since 2005?
No.
No? Okay. So with most of the jobs that you worked, did you earn more than $5,000 at those different jobs?
I think it's called no.
No. Did you earn more than $3,500?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And can you tell me, what was the longest job that you worked since 2005?
Arby's restaurant.
And at Arby's, did you get promoted? Were you in charge of training people or anything like that?
They attempted to, but I was struggling. One day, the first day, I was struggling. They tried to, I was struggling with everything.
Okay. So you had a difficult time. Can you tell me, are you currently taking medications for your mental impairments?
Yes.
Okay. Have most of the medications that you've been taking, have you been on them for an extended period?
Yes.
Okay. And then walk me through this.
I started taking medicine.
Okay. Gotcha. So, all right. Now, can you tell me, what are your medications for, and do you have any side effects?
Medication for my mental, sexual abuse.
Okay. So you're saying sexual abuse happened to you back in the day?
Yes.
Okay. Was this a younger thing where you were a child, or was this when you were older?
Younger into my teenage years.
Okay, gotcha. So can you help me out? The PTSD that you have, is this something where you get nightmares, or is this something where you get flashbacks?
Yeah,
or both?
I get nightmares, and when I'm going to deep sleep, I pee on myself, and then I'm like, I'm angry a lot, and then my I just bite my lip a lot, and I daze off. I'm a lot angry. Yeah, I'm angry.
Okay. So you get this anger. Do you get panic attacks?
Yes.
Explain to me how the panic attacks begin.
Hands, sweaty hands. It's really a scary feeling in my body. I don't know how to explain to you. Okay. And nervous. And then I shake a lot. Okay. Especially if somebody argue, I shake. Okay. And I get scared.
Now help me out with this. You're having these difficulties, right? So these were from when you were a child. Do you believe that these are the reasons that you've never really had a lot of full-time work?
Yeah, please. It's like I'm going off the bridge. Like it's like like I'm jumping off the bridge or jumping from high places, and I'm scared of heights. Yeah.
So pretty standard dreams. Help me out with this. Going forward, can you tell me, do you live in an apartment? Do you live in a house? You live in a house. And are you paying rent there?
Yes.
Okay. And is it a house that has multiple rooms in it?
Yes, 2 rooms.
2 rooms? Okay. Are there a lot of people living there?
My 2 boys.
Your 2 boys. And is the way you pay for the house through their child support? It's just right.
No, they get SSI.
Okay. So both children receive SSI, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Are any of the fathers in the picture?
No.
Okay. So help me out with this. With the 2 SSI children, does your mom live at the house with you?
No, it's like an apartment house, a small one floor.
Say it again.
It's a small one floor house.
Okay. There's no. All right. So now let me ask you this. How old are the children?
14 and 17.
14 to 17. So one of them you kind of have to take care of. The other one, for the most part, takes care of the 17-year-old themselves, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And help me out with this. Does the 17-year-old help around the house, or do you mostly do the cooking, cleaning, and things like that?
Well, we heat up stuff in the oven and in the microwave most of the time, or eat out.
Okay. Explain to me this. What are the child's impairments?
They have multiple impairments, communication. I'm not sure. So it's a list. It's a most. They got IEP. Both of them has IEP in school.
Okay. So they both have learning impairments?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was in special ed and had IEP, but it was a long time ago.
Okay. So do you currently have a boyfriend or somebody that helps you around the house?
No, my kids and I take turns.
So, so there's no boyfriend in your life currently that's assisting you with outside activities, stuff like that?
No.
So you must be mowing the lawn. You must be doing upkeep, correct?
No. Oh, I had some. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got someone doing that. I paid them.
You pay them. Okay. So help me out. The SSI money, that's not a lot of money. What's the rent like on that house?
Oh, I had rental assistance.
You have rental assistance. Okay. Do you currently smoke?
No.
Do you currently use marijuana? Do you drink at all? No? Okay. Gotcha. Describe for me the difficulties you have with raising your children due to your mental impairments.
Helping them with homework. I had difficulty communicating with these teachers and police officers and just neighbors. Difficulty. Yes, I had run in with police over and over again.
Okay.
And neighbors.
Okay. So help me out with this. You have difficulty with homework. I'm sure getting them ready in the morning, things like that. They get themselves ready. Yeah, but they weren't always that old, were they? Right? Yeah. Okay. So when did they start taking care of themselves?
Well, they was doing a little more for themselves, for like 4, 5, like being dressed themselves and stuff. I had to feed them.
What kind of meals were you cooking for them?
Usually we used to eat out, and my mom would bring us food and stuff.
Big meals?
When she was allowed, huh?
Were they complex meals? Were they big meals?
Oh, they was some was big meals. My mom would cook, so she cooked big meals.
Okay, so your mom would help you with these things, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a car?
No.
Okay. Do you have a driver's license?
Yes.
How do you get to your mental appointments?
Transportation.
With the transportation, are we talking a bus or are we talking a bicycle?
Medical transportation.
Okay, so they show up and pick you up.
Yes.
Okay. So for everybody watching on YouTube, I just want to give them a heads up as to how this claim would be a good claim. First and foremost, she obviously has some sort of Medicaid-based allowance because there's transportation involved, which means insurance is carrying it. Second of all, she obviously has, made to the point where the children are 14 and 17, which is tricky because the judges are going to be thinking, how did she raise the kids if she had these impairments for a long-term issue? Because remember, she said, hey, I have PTSD from when I was sexually abused as a child, which means there's a long history of it. She was able to work sometimes, I'm guessing not a lot, even though this stuff occurred to her until the point in which, and ma'am, correct me if I'm wrong, but you stopped working once both children received SSI benefits. Is that correct?
No.
No?
I tried. I tried working the last job I had 2013, they didn't, when it was young age, they was getting SSI.
Okay. But it was probably around that time, right? You got the benefits and then you tried another job and then you said, you know what, I'll just stick with the SSI.
Yes.
Okay. So, all right, let me go through this. One of the things that the judge is going to, and keep in mind, you're still young. You're in the 45 category, which means there's no grittings that's going to help you, which means we only have CALs, vocational allowance, or listings as our main options to find you disabled. So you're currently having these difficulties. Now, when you talk, and women do this a lot to me, they don't usually bring up sexual abuse or suicidal attempts. Are there any suicidal attempts on the record?
No.
Okay. And is the reason for that because you were afraid of losing your children?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to point out, guys, when it comes to women, these female claims are tougher than male claims because if a woman loses her child, she goes insane. That's her everything. The more so than anything in the world, that's her everything. So So the bottom line here is disability claims for mental only are tougher to win for females that have kids because they will purposely not, put the red light out and say, there's a red blinking light. I'm in danger. I have problems. I'm suicidal. They'll purposely not put that blinking danger.
Yes, I feel it. Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Many times.
Okay. When you go to the doctor, do you often tell them that things are better than they actually are?
Yes.
Has DCF ever interacted with you in an attempt to go ahead and talk about the removal of your children?
Many times, yes.
Okay. So I just want to point out with these claims, guys, the best way to handle them is to go ahead and look at the record and see specifically what the doctors are saying. Because the doctors may understand what she's going through because they know this too. They know when it comes to female claims where they got kids, they're not going to say they're as bad as they are. The other side of the coin is the trick that most people do is is your mom involved with your life? Like, does your mom interact with you?
She passed.
She's passed. Okay. Is there somebody else in your life that you trust that, could help you with the kids and things like that?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. So then that's a pretty tricky case. What a lot of people do is they'll have their mom or somebody else they trust go ahead and take legal possession of the children during the process of obtaining disability benefits. And then after that, they'll get a doctor to go ahead and say that they're capable of being around and interacting with their children. But for female claims where they've got kids and they're afraid of losing them, these are the toughest claims to win because they purposely withhold how bad they actually are to the doctors. Now, I'm guessing, though, because the Medicaid group is working with you, you're in a situation where they already know you're really bad and that you've got really difficult mental impairments, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me, what was the last time that you had a Baker Act, or what was the last time that some big event happened with your medical background?
But last time, what happened?
So what was the last time that you had a big mental event, a big mental breakdown?
Oh, mental event. Just recently. This year. Yeah. So I don't know. A month. I don't know.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Obviously, memory difficulties. What was the highest level of education that you completed?
9th.
What happened in 9th grade?
I left school because I seemed like I wasn't going nowhere, and I left because I know I was in special education, and it seemed like I wasn't going nowhere. Whatever they was teaching me, they taught me, and I wasn't going nowhere else.
Okay. So let me ask you this. When it comes to your claim, do you have a hearing already coming up?
I did my hearing. I looked at your videos. I did my hearing.
So the hearing is already done?
Yes.
Okay. I'm assuming, did somebody represent you throughout this process? Did you have an attorney?
Yes.
Okay. Can you help me out? When you went through this process with that attorney, did the attorney question you a lot during the hearing?
About my sexual abuse and not so much. She's talking about my like he didn't just say sexual abuse, he said it another way. But I was crying, yeah, so I broke down then.
You're just waiting for a decision at this point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So help me out with this. How many months have you been waiting for a decision?
I just did it just days ago, the 21st.
21st. So, because if it was, yeah, because the date is the 14th. So you're saying like a month ago you did it?
Yes, a month ago.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. So here's what's happening. I'm going to hop out of the asking you questions part. What worried me is that you didn't really have a structure to your testimony in the beginning because you weren't sure what your most severe impairment was. You weren't sure, where, which one was worse than the next one. It was scattered a bit. So obviously, now just be honest with me here. Did your attorney call you a couple of times ahead of time before the hearing and run questions with you?
No.
Okay. Do you feel you would have been better prepared had you run questions with them?
Yes, because when I looked at your videos, I was like,
attorney they hired in Texas and how they didn't prep her and how they didn't do stuff and that they didn't go through the process in a proper way to go ahead and show her how to get through the hearing process. And this person was really a Texas law firm. So the thing is, now let me ask you this. Did the judge have a lot of questions for the vocational expert? Did they have a bunch of jobs that you could potentially do?
For me, it was some, and then when he asked me some questions, I guess it went lower.
Okay.
So.
All right, so let me give you a little outro as to what happens now at this point so you have an understanding. Almost every single ALJ judge, especially for somebody in their 45 age group area, is going to go ahead and basically take 3 to 4 months to make a decision. The decision comes in 3 flavors. Flavor number 1 is basically an unfavorable. That means not disabled. Flavor number 2 is partially favorable. That means they're moving your alleged onset date forward or backward, depending on what they feel is correct, usually forward in time. And then fully favorable is where you basically are found disabled from the date that which you're claiming as your alleged onset date. Now, your claim is obviously because of your work history an SSI only claim, which means supplemental security income. For that reason, since it's only SSI, the farthest you can go back is your protective filing date. So let me ask you this. What date did you choose with your attorney for your alleged onset date?
The last day I worked, the 2013.
The last day you worked. Okay. Was there any medical reason during that time? I mean, were you having medical treatment? Was the group picking you up in their van to take you to medical appointments at that point? Why was that?
Recently, I went to medical treatment before, and then just recently, Vices had me going to medical treatment, and then I'm just in medical treatment now. Yeah,
So you didn't have as much medical treatment back then?
No.
All right. So so in that case, most likely what will happen is the judge will go ahead and basically, switch your alleged onset date to when you medically met the listing requirements or the vocational allowance requirements to be found disabled. So I don't think the attorney I don't know, I haven't seen your file, but a smarter choice other than picking your protective filing date or perhaps the month after the month you last worked would have been to pick the best date where there's medical evidence to show that you are actually severe. Had you picked that date, you would have a higher likelihood of the judge approving the claim faster. So remember, I just want to point out to everybody, guys, if your attorney doesn't come to you about what your alleged onset date is, then there's a problem. Alleged onset date is the date in which you are claiming that you became severely disabled under the Social Security's rules and regulations. So what that means is that it's a date where you can prove medically that you were severely impaired and also financially weren't basically earning too much or, in a penal institution, or there's lots of things that you could run afoul of. So the bottom line is what you have to kind of keep in consideration with this is you always have to be able to tie your alleged onset date to a specific medical opinion that says, hey, severe. And remember, it doesn't always have to be just a singular impairment that equates to severe. It can be multiple impairments that total a severe residual functional capacity. So let's go through that real quick. All right. So at this point, what did your attorney tell you about how the hearing went?
He never called me. He said he needs some paperwork from my doctors. He never called me about anything.
Okay. So what that means is that the attorney was unable to collect or obtain all of your records before the hearing. That happens sometimes, but the other side of the coin is, you know, he's a piece of paper from you in order to get records, or is he saying he just...
No, he's saying he needs my doctor just contact him with paperwork.
So he's saying the doctor never contacted him back with the paperwork?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the attorney's plan to get the paperwork from that doctor?
He said he's going to call him. He already called him before, but he never responded. And now he said he's going to send him some more paperwork to respond again.
Okay. So guys, when this happens and an attorney is unable to get the records, sometimes what the attorneys will do is they'll go ahead and submit a notification to the doctor that says, you're going to get a subpoena. Here comes the silver bullet. And the reason why doctors don't want to get a subpoena is because they're required to go ahead and respond to it within a timely manner. If they don't, then guess what? Jail time, or they'll have to show up to a hearing and present their reasoning as to why they can't provide the evidence. You know, sometimes they can submit it in writing. So in this particular case, what you have to consider is this. The SSA can send out what's called an 827. That's kind of their HIPAA form. And if the doctor doesn't respond to the 827, then at that point, the judge can submit a subpoena. Now, attorneys have a 5-10-day rule. So basically, if the attorney is unable to get the records 10 days before the hearing, the attorney has to tell the judge, hey, I can't get these records. I need help. Send a subpoena. 5 days before the hearing, the attorney has to notify the judge of any outstanding records. Otherwise, those records will be barred from the record unless the judge goes ahead and gives wiggle room for the attorney to go and get them thereafter. Okay, so in this case, yeah, go ahead.
I had a question because they said I was approved before when one was my oldest son was applied for Social Security, but when I tried to go back for the approval because I rejected it, they telling me I couldn't get it. Why was that?
You're saying that you were approved back in the day when your son was?
Yes.
Okay. Now, was that at the initial filing level? Was that the reconsideration level?
No, that was this was a whole nother situation where my son was being approved from a lady, and then she wrote up the paperwork for me to be approved. But when I didn't go, he got his, but I didn't go and get mine. I waited it out, and then they said they can't use the same paperwork. Why is that?
So what you're saying is back in the day, you were found disabled, but for some reason you got a technical denial and had to go forward and do a hearing.
Yes, I had to go through the whole process over.
Okay. So you were found disabled back in the day and receiving benefits.
No, I rejected the benefits. Instead, I went to work.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you reject the benefits, then, and you went to work, then you have to reapply and go through the process. That makes sense. Yeah. Because remember, you can work for 9 months once you're found disabled and not have it hurt you or take away money from you. But after that trial work period of 9 months, then they're going to go ahead, they're probably going to take away the benefits or reduce the benefits if you're earning a smaller amount. Remember, guys, if you want to go ahead and work and be on disability benefits, your first option is to use up your 9 months of trial work period. And then thereafter, you can sign what's called a Ticket to Work program. And the Ticket to Work program is usually a 5-year contract with a regional office manager from a field office that will go ahead and contract with you so that you can keep the money while working. But at the same time, at the end of those 5 years, you have to stop being on disability benefits and just keep working. It's a carrot program to allow you to get money from working and also receive disability benefits. Okay, so what happens now? 3 to 4 months, you get a decision. Some of the judges take up to 7 to 8 months. The bottom line is it'll come, it might be 20 pages, might be 30 pages long. But when you get that decision, you want to go right and, flip through it until you get to basically the section that talks about facts. The facts are where you're a vocational expert. What types of jobs did the vocational experts say that you could do?
I think from 1 to light work job. And then she said, and then the judge asked, do you have questions for the vocational? To ask my lawyer, do you have questions for the vocational? He said no. And then he came to me, he asked me a question about my sexual abuse, and then that was it.
Okay.
He never talked to me after that for a while, and then I said I called him and see what was going on. He said all they asking, requesting is my doctor's medical records.
Okay. So basically what you're missing at this point are your medical records that he has to go and obtain and submit to the court. Did the judge give him a particular amount of time, like 20 days, 10 days, days? Okay.
No.
So
she just said, I'm gonna hold it off for now, but I need the her doctor's medical records.
All right. So yours will take.
She had me go to a psychiatrist a year before I went to my hearing.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so bottom line is, since basically you went to the ME back in the day, your attorney will collect the documentation, and then at that point, you'll go ahead and transition from basically, waiting for them to do something with it to they'll start working on it. They'll start writing the decision. So the judge is not the person who actually writes the decision. In the back of that building is a small cave at the hearing office. And in that small cave, basically are a bunch of writers. And the writers are attorneys who just sit there all day and write these briefs. And the judge advises them as to which way they want them to lean with the brief, whether it's approval or denial or whatever. So bottom line is this. At this point, you're going to have to wait 3 to 4 to maybe 5 months because the judge is waiting to get that medical documentation in. Once you do get approved, if you get approved, then at that point, you'll have to do a pre-effectuation interview. Do you know what a pre-effectuation interview is?
No.
A pre-effectuation interview is where you meet the medical requirements for the disability program, but now they need to go ahead and see if you meet the financial requirements. So if you have more than $2,000 in the bank, if you have more than one car that's worth over a certain amount, if you have more than one house, whatever, things like that, more than $1,500 in a life insurance policy, if you have those things, then what it equates to is a situation where basically you wouldn't be eligible for SSI. So you have to truly be in an impoverished state, which if you don't have money and you're just using the kids' SSI money to get them through everything, then in that instance, you would very likely be okay because you don't have money stored up. Okay.
Yeah, she asked about my kids' SSI money, how much they get.
Sure.
To the judge.
Okay. Now, do you have any, since you've already had your hearing, do you have any particular questions for me that you want to ask me while I'm on the phone with you?
Yes, I had some questions. I wanted to know about that forward pay that you were talking about because I can't see it on your video because like back pay, forward pay.
The phone kind of cut in and out there. Walk me through it again. What was it?
I was about the back pay and forward pay.
Sure. Okay. I'll explain how that works. For SSDI benefits, there's retroactive benefits, back pay benefits, and forward pay benefits. Retroactive benefits are benefits that are due to you from before you actually, from before when you filed. Back pay benefits are those benefits that are due to you from when you filed to when you were found disabled. And forward pay benefits are those benefits due to you from when you were found disabled going forward. So imagine if you file here and you go ahead and basically receive benefits here, then before you filed are retroactive benefits. From when you filed to when you were found disabled are back pay benefits. And from when you were found disabled going forward in time into the future, that's your forward pay. Okay, forward pay benefits. So retroactive, back pay benefits, forward pay benefits. Now, for SSI, you only get back pay and forward pay benefits. Back pay benefits, like we just said, they go all the way back to when you started applying for disability benefits. How do they work? The first month of your back pay benefits don't count. And the month you're found disabled don't count for benefit calculations. So the first month and the last month don't count for benefit calculations. So think the bookend months. We don't count those. But every single month that you waited in between, okay, every single month that you waited in between when you filed and were found disabled, other than the 2 bookend months, you count those. And that's how many months you're going to go. What you do is with SSI, basically you'll go ahead and you will multiply the amount of months in a year by the SSI amount, right? So you multiply how much that SSI amount is for 2016, 2017, 2018, whatever is. You take 2019 and you multiply it by the amount of months that you were waiting in that year to be found disabled. And then you look at 2020 and you multiply the amount of months there by whatever the 2020 SGA amount is. Now, with that said, your benefits are going to be less than the maximum amount of SGA benefits. And the reason why is somebody else is paying for where you live, which is basically your SSI child benefits. And because you have SSI child benefits, they'll probably try to go ahead and use with you what's called the 1/3 reduction rule, which means they'll take your $783 and reduce it to around $500 per month.
Oh.
Yeah, no, not a good deal, because it's going to kill your back pay quite heavily. It's going to cut off 1/3 of it. What that means, though, is that you're going to also have to submit to the SSA a notification that going forward in time, you are going to have to use your money to pay for the rent so that you get the full $783. Otherwise, they'll just keep paying you the $500 and yeah. So that's something to know. Okay, what other questions?
I requested that they move on using my benefits.
Oh, say it again.
Would I request that with the SSI that I'm using my benefits to pay the rent?
Yes, so you're going to notify them that you intend to use your benefits to pay a portion of the rent and that you're no longer using the child's SSI benefits in total. That way they give you the full $783 per month as opposed to the lower amount.
Oh, that's good. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's important. That's super duper important. Okay, now, do you have any other questions for me before I go to the next caller?
So I heard you about talking about buying a house and stuff. So you can buy a house with the SSI benefits?
Yes. Owning a house in no way is restricted by SSI benefits, the program, in any way. When you own more than one house, you can't do that. But owning a house, you're allowed to do that. What your move
and
should...
won't take no benefits from you?
Yeah, so what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and approach, not a bank, but basically the different companies out there that are lenders specifically for the housing mortgage market, and do it if you can as soon as you can because of the low interest rates that are going on with COVID. And what you're going to... Nope, we got something going on. So, yeah, so... No, it's okay. So what you're going to do at that point is you're going to show the mortgage person how much you bring in per month, how much you're bringing in through the child's benefits and things like that. And you're going to work with them to go ahead and show them what you can afford per month on a mortgage. Use the buildup of your back pay to go ahead and purchase a home. However, you will need to use something that's called an emergency allowance for release of back pay funds. An emergency allowance for release of back pay funds is where you show the SSA in a letter something that you want to buy or spend money on. That's for your personal upkeep. And they will release all of your SSI back pay that you need to buy that particular thing. That's how you get all of your back pay for SSI up front. And once that happens, basically, you can go ahead and apply that to the down payment you'll need for your mortgage. Just keep in mind, and this is important, when it comes down to your kids' SSI benefits, they will not be able to use those SSI continuously going forward as a calculation for your monthly income. And the reason for that is that basically, at some point when they turn 18, they should be able to go ahead and have control over their own benefits and move forward in that regard. So they won't be able to calculate that necessarily unless there's some sort of contractual agreement that you have with the child that the amount of money per month will be spent specifically on that. But they'll have to sign the agreement as well for the mortgage. So they'll have to be a co-signer.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll catch you a little bit later. And don't be afraid to give me a call back with any further questions.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, guys. So basically, to go through some of those details, actually, what I'm going to do is let me check real quick because I know Nikki was sending some details here. Okay. far enough. Let's see. Okay, on my second app, I have an ME interrogatory equaling a listing and judge requested amending. Okay, on my second app, I have an ME interrogatory equaling a listing and judge requested amending onset date day after last denial prior to hearing. ALJ didn't approve and has another ME coming to my hearing. So wait a minute. I have an ME interrogatory equaling listing and judge requested amended onset date to day after. So was the ME, so Nikki, was the ME part of the original first app or was the ME part of the second app? That's question one. And then question two is, if the judge is sending you to another medical expert, then expect the judge to more heavily weigh the evidence of the new medical expert since it's current medical treatment documentation. That's the most recent. So they're going to use that as your base standard. Also, when you look at this, the day after the day of the last denial, be careful. You need to have a moment in time where you can medically prove that you actually were that severely impaired. If you're just picking the day, that's the day after the day of your last denial, the judge is just doing that as a placeholder. They're just choosing that date because it's easy for them to say you began becoming eligible again. Doesn't mean that you are disabled, severely disabled, and can get the benefits. It just means that the day after your last denial where you didn't appeal it, you became eligible again. Okay, let me look down here again. Let's see. Onset date but didn't approve their own request. Okay, or didn't approve because you and your attorney decided not to. Yes, and I have. Okay, so, or didn't approve. Okay, I'm scrolling down to see what you're answering. Second app, ME at hearing, cool. All non-examined ME, cool. All right, so here's the bottom line. If you had an ME that gave that proffer that you met, equal or exceeded that listing, that's good. What you're really doing is to lay into the judge is you want to use where the ME, and some of them do this, they'll put at the bottom, will explain the vocational parameters in which you are limited. Because if they're going to say that you can't do stuff, they might also put in there how long you can stand, how long you can pay attention, certain functional tasks that you can or cannot do. So long as the ME gives that RFC information, you should request from the judge to have that be part of the initial hypothetical questions asked to the vocational expert. So that way the ME's vocational limitations can be passed on to the vocational expert as part of the hearing, and that will then lead the overall questioning that the judge will ask the VE, which usually helps because then the judge is locked to what the medical expert wanted to provide, especially when it's an ME, which means the judge is part of the same group that basically brought them on board. And here's the problem with all these MEs, just so you guys understand how this works. Medical experts are people who signed up with the government to go ahead and work with tons and tons and tons of people who are trying to get disability benefits. And what they do is these medical experts will see a lot of people in a 15-minute period, maybe a 10-minute period, etc. So the bottom line is that, at this point, these medical experts won't see other people. They won't actually treat other people. They'll only work specifically or mostly with the government, whether it's for just Social Security disability benefits or, for example, with workers' comp. So is there the potential of bias by an ME? Yeah. Tons and tons. Because their entire payroll ticket, their entire money thing is basically a scenario of, getting, payments almost specifically and heavily from the Social Security Administration. So if they're primarily getting fed by one particular group, they're not going to bite the hand that's feeding them. So, this is one of the particularly difficult issues of this situation. Now, if they're sending you to another medical expert, they want to use it to either put a, nail in the coffin and say, this medical expert said she's not impaired, or they're going to go ahead and say, okay, this medical expert agreed with that medical expert. And remember, this is a test of the medical experts when it comes to specialized groups. So what does that mean? Most medical experts that you'll be sent to are specialists. They have a postdoctoral degree in their particular group of review, which means that they review your impairments and only specifically those impairments that are within their doctrinal study. So what that means is that, the SSA, when sending you to one of those doctors, will have a high-level individual going ahead and giving an opinion. However, kind of like what you said, oh, yes, but I did have to tell my main doc, MD, PhD, assistant professor at Mayo. Now, look, here's the cool thing. You're saying they're a medical doctor, right? Your main doctor is a medical doctor. He's a philosophical doctor, and he's assistant professor at the Mayo Clinic. 2 doctorates worth more than one specialty, right? Because I'm not seeing a specialty in there. So the problem is and I see the connection went bad. The problem is your doctor may not have a specialty in his degree. So if he's an MD, assistant professor at Mayo, that's all cool, that's all fine, but that's not an MD with a postdoctorate master's in a specialty for a particular field of medicine. And the SSA is sending you specifically to doctors that have a medical doctorate and a postdoctorate specialty master's degree. And those people are given more weight than your main doctor who has 2 doctorates. And that's because if you have a particular ailment, remember, a PhD is not hard to earn. That's like a continuation of college. That's all it is. MDs, JDs, professional doctorate degrees, those are very difficult. Only the top percentile in America of individuals who are incredibly intelligent are able to get the professional doctorate degrees. PhDs, stuff like that, pretty much anybody that goes through college could get a PhD. They're just going to be in school for more years. But MDs, JDs, those are very hard to get, very competitive, and they kick a lot of people out of school who are trying to get them. And then the big exam at the end, a lot of people don't pass to begin with as well. So it's a whole thing. Now, your doctor, 2 doctorates. Their doctorate and postdoctorate specialty degree in a specific area of medicine. Their doctor will have greater weight afforded to them over your doctor because your doctor does not have a specialty in the medical degree area that this doctor does. Now, I'm sure because he's an assistant professor at the Mayo Clinic, he's probably getting, while there, additional documentation to show how he is, let's see, I'm not being sent to ME in person. I have a rheumatologist, neurologist. Okay, so good. You got some specialists there. So in that case, your specialist will go on the weighing block, the chopping block for some, on the whole balancing test. So when you guys see that little lady and she's got those 2 little things, those things that she's holding up as part of, she's weighing evidence. Remember, the judge, the whole purpose of them sitting there is to weigh evidence. They're considering your doctor against another doctor, and your doctors in total against their doctors in total, and your financial evidence against, things that you've said, your penal evidence, jail evidence, prison evidence against things that the jail said. So the judge's whole thing there is to sit there and think about, with all of their experience and seeing the good claims and the bull claims, where you really sit on the spectrum of people who should be found disabled. So that's kind of the thing that's going on with that situation as to why your prior doctor might not have worked. Emmy at next hearing is a cardiologist. Well, there you go. Okay. So that'll be a postdoctorate specialty with a master's. Okay. So with that said, did I miss okay. Yeah, I missed some thingies there. Okay, cool. So bottom line is I'm going to put the phone number up again so we can potentially run another claimant tonight. If you guys have any other questions, that's fine. Just post them up on there and I'll try to answer them. Let's see. One on the hand, more than one. Yeah, good. Let's see. I'm Greg. I have a phone hearing coming up on July 9th. I have Crohn's disease with severe bowel issue. I've only worked in the food industry. Any tips? Yeah. So Greg, here's the deal with basically anything that's diarrhea related, nausea related, having to use the bathroom a lot. The DOT does not specify in it, common bathroom use, ready-made available bathroom use, line jobs where you're sitting on a line where everybody has to do some function for the whole thing to continue. So you're going to have to pick an attorney that's good with vocational expert, cross-examining. That's where the vocational expert will say, well, you could do this job, you could do this job, you could do this job. But your attorney's going to have to say, well, wait a minute, are the bathrooms going to be right next to them? Is this a job where they're outside and they have to run in? Is this a job where they're on the line, where they're basically going to have to, have somebody take that line position so that the line continues down the thing? Is this a situation where the person is doing work that can't be interrupted? Where they have to sit there and focus on a particular thing? Is this a thing where the claimant's going to be off task significantly? So the way it works with vocational experts is that if you are more than 10% off task, right, in a regular work day, so 10% of the time of that 8-hour workday that you're working, if you're more than 10% off task, then it's work preclusive, meaning there's no work in sort of surgery or updates or this or that or shots all the time. Then if you miss more than 1 day per month continuously, if you miss more than 1 day per month continuously, then that's also work preclusive, which means that you will essentially at that point be found disabled for a vocational allowance. So the off-task and the missed days are really important for a claim that involves basically Crohn's disease with severe bowel issues. And then the other thing you need to go into is that your doctors, and you don't have much time because it's July 9th, so it's around the corner. And I'm assuming that you have an attorney that's been running questions with you. But one of the things you need to have on the record is that you have urinary incontinence, that you have, incontinence in general. And the reason why is that this will show an inability for you to control what happens with your need to go to the bathroom. And if you have that, then it means that, you're going to be off task all the time with this job stuff, because they can't put you in an environment where you're working if you're always going to have to go to the bathroom and not have control over having to go to the bathroom. So Greg, if you have any other questions, let me know, and then we'll kind of go from there. Let me see what else is up here. Okay, yeah, so probation periods. So let me read this. Sometimes if it is expected to miss a day during probation period, then that can also be work preclusive. All right, so for a lot of companies now, they contract you, you get your contractual employment agreement, and it says you will be in a probationary period where we review you for 3 months, for 6 months, for 9 months, for 12 months. And what they're doing is they're putting a special bubble around you that says, if you screw up, don't screw up during the beginning, because that's going to be especially bad. So what that means is that during that probationary period, vocational experts usually agree that if you were to miss 1 day a month, you could be let go. And the reason is that's the time when they're checking to make sure that you are going to continuously work and be a good fit for that company. Okay, so let's see. All right, so let's go up here a little bit more. Let's see. Rafael Ramirez, is it okay for someone to live in one state but have their medical treatment from another state? Yeah, it happens all the time, especially when people live on the border between states. Same gig with counties, not the same gig with countries. That can get a little bit trickier, because then the judge is wondering, well, do you live in this state or this country for more time, or that country for more time? If you live in that country for more time, the expectation is that you'll have to go on disability benefits for that country. If you live in this country, then you go in the disability benefits program for this country. So remember the 6-month rule. Are you more than 6 months in this country, or are you more than 6 months in that country? If you have physicians in other states, that's not a big deal at all. That's, commonplace, especially for people who live on the border. Okay, so yes, exactly. Ordering dogs, that would be perfect. All right. So if you guys don't have, and I know people get a little bit shy with calling in sometimes. I know that a lot of people reached out to me to go ahead and do it. Looks like I do have a notification here for somebody I might have missed. Let's see real quick. Yeah, I missed one. Okay, either way, let's see. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Okay, so one of my claimants was just found disabled, and I'll respond to her a little bit later. I'll be off at 10. I'll call then. Okay, so here's what you need to know. We're going to go through other things, or things that really anger people that other attorneys do. Things that anger people is when an attorney will go ahead and file you for appeals counsel, and in appeals counsel, they'll basically, the attorney will say, hey, I'll represent you. I'll take you from the ALJ denial into appeals counsel. And then at that point, the attorney will just withdraw. That's what a lot of attorneys are doing, and it's really angering people, because people have the expectation that if I'm going to throw that ball all the way up to appeals counsel from the denial at the ALJ hearing, then they expect that attorney to go ahead and be present for their hearing, or for their AC appeal at the appeals counsel. Now, appeals counsel works a lot differently than the OHO hearing office. So the appeals counsel group basically will go ahead and have multiple AAJs, the appellate judges, review the decision of the ALJ. The main thing that they usually overturn these ALJ decisions and send them back for remand or give them an approval, things like that. The main thing that they do throughout this process is they look to see if a medical expert opinion, was not considered as part of the decision, or they look to see if maybe there were some orthopedic devices that were not considered as part of the adjudication, or they look to see if the jobs that were given were appropriate, or they look to see if there's some factual basis for why, essentially the judge made an error. So like, let's say the judge said you do this in your spare time and you don't actually do that in your spare time. That would be a good example of, something the judge relied on when writing the brief, that which they used to deny you, that which was a factual inaccuracy, which should go up to the appeals council. Another example of all of this would be, for example, a law come up from time to time. So let me give you an example of what happens with the law citation, where the law was incorrectly cited. So if the law was incorrectly cited, basically you can send that up to appeals counsel, and you'll be able to say, hey, look, the judge relied on this. It was material to the outcome of my claim. And because this is the incorrect citation of law, we were requesting a remand or an approval based upon, what's been presented in the actual record. So those are most of the ways that you can go ahead and submit a claim up to appeals counsel. Now, the law and arguments that we use at appeals counsel, just so you know, are not usually the law and arguments that we use at federal district court. A lot of people sit there with their hearing and they go, okay, so let's go through this. I've got a hearing, right? And I go to it, and if I get a denial, where do I go? I go to appeals counsel. And in their head, that's basically where the whole thing will stop, right? That's the whole, I go from here to there, and that's the whole yada yada. The truth is, if you get a denial at appeals counsel, you can go ahead and appeal up to what's called the district court. Now, in your state, the district court could be a middle district court, it could be, the northern district court, it could be the southern district court, whatever. But it's wherever you're based, and it's going to be the district court, because now we're at the federal level, and the federal stuff is all the same throughout all the different states. So what does this mean? It means that basically you can go and file an appeal from appeals counsel outside of the SSA docket into what's called the federal district court. Let's say you get a denial there. If you get a denial there, you can file an appeal into what's called the circuit court. So let's say that you get an approval at the district court. Cool, awesome. Let's say you get a remand at the district court. The remand could be sent back to the appeals council. The remand could be sent back to the ALJ for a new hearing. Now, let's say that you get a denial and you appeal it up to the circuit court. Circuit court, same gig. They can approve it, they can deny it, they can remand it. Here's the thing. If you get a denial at the circuit court, now we have a new interesting issue. The new issue is when we go to the federal Supreme Court, they have to give what's called certiorari, which is a doctrine which basically allows them to go ahead and reject review or approve review of a particular claim that can go in front of, you guessed it, the judges that are on TV. These are the big Supreme Court judges. These are the ones at the top. These are the ones that have no rules applied to them with what they can or cannot do when it comes to, ethical whatevers. There's no rules that apply to them. These are the judges at the top. And there never will be any rules that are put down for these judges, because they'll just go ahead and find them to be unconstitutional. And they'll never put them in place themselves or allow a group to put them in place. So when you reach the Supreme Court level as a Supreme Court judge at the federal courts, you're basically an untouchable being. You are a human demigod at that point. So with that said, they have to go ahead and certify that you can go in front of them before you can actually go to that court. So that's something to consider. All right, let's go ahead and talk real quick about some of these other things I'm seeing on here. The judge in my first decision ignored the hypotheticals, including that I'd be off task 25% of the time and missing more than 4 days a month. Is that appealable? Yeah, of course, that's appealable, so long as there's arguments in the medical record and the administrative and the legal record to show that you truly would be off task. So here are some forms of evidence that would be good to show that you'd be off task 25% of the time. If you've got a sleep problem and you have a sleep study that shows you'd be unable to consistently wake up on time, that would be a good example of basically where you wouldn't be able to make it to work consistently. You'd be off task, you'd be showing up late, stuff like that. Off task can also be something during the day. So for example, let's go back to what we were talking about before. If you have urinary incontinence or need to utilize the bathroom all the time, that's going to cut into that off task time, and that's going to increase the off task time, which means that you're not going to be able to focus on the job as much as required, and then you'd probably get fired. So those are two examples of getting the job on time and staying at the job on time, and missing more than 4 days a month. So let's say that you're going to have to miss multiple days a month, right? So they allow 1 day a month unless you're in a probationary period. So let's go into that. Let's say reasons that you would have to go ahead and miss work. They could be anything. They could be that you have to get injections into your back and you can't, go to work during those days. And remember, it's not just I'm at the doctor's office. It could also be that you just are not the symptoms of the medication they give you, or what happens thereafter of you feeling from, the whole process. Those things could limit your ability to actually show up at work. Another example of, missing additional days would be like, let's say that in order to do this job, you have to be able to, I don't know, it could be anything. It could be continuous surgery. It could be getting medical treatment out of state and having to go to a special hospital for a unique impairment. And so many days a month you have to be gone to travel out of state for it. There's so many things you could use for that. And that's, kind of part of the process. It's important. So that's how you can go ahead and get evidence to provide evidence to build the claim in that regard. Okay, let's see. How do they go? The first one was long from the other two were short forms, yada, yada. Okay. Does going to a psychiatrist, being prescribed meds, and a psychologist make a mental case strong? All right. So just so you guys know, the psychiatrist and a psychologist, what's the difference? A psychiatrist can prescribe medication, psychologist can't. Well, they can prescribe some, but not to the degree of the psychologist. So what the psychiatrist and what the psychologist are writing in their diagnostic impression medical reports is what dictates if it's a strong case. If they're writing in there that this person really isn't that bad, this person's not that, they're not that impaired. If they're writing those things into it, they could actually be killing the claim. So you got to watch out for that. If they're writing things into it where basically, they're saying, hey, this person is really, truly severely impaired. They can't focus on a particular case, ... That would be a strong case. Okay. So let's look at how can someone win with mental problems? That's from Miss Sweet Lee. So how does somebody win with mental problems? Basically, the way they win with mental problems is they go ahead and show, and keep in mind, every mental problem is different. You could have PTSD. You could have an IQ learning issue. You could have anxiety. You could have bipolar. You could have, so many different potential schizophrenia, you could have so many potential mental impairments. So first, look at the mental impairment. See what the listings require for that mental impairment. So you're going to want to show via medications, side effects, inability to work, failed work attempts, continuous mental treatment where you're in a sanatorium or you're getting, ongoing mental treatment where your medications have to be swapped out and changed because they're not fixing the problem. And I want to take a moment and explain that real quick. A lot of you guys will be on medications for 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, whatever. And those medications never change. And you use those medications to basically show that you are doing okay on them. And if you're doing okay on your medications, that is a problem because that means that they are getting you to the point where you're able to function and utilize them going forward. If you're not having mental medications be swapped out every 6 months to a year, then there's a problem because that means the medications in the judge's eyes are usually working. All right, next question. If a federal judge remands your case, should your case be approved? No, not necessarily. When a federal judge remands your claim to the appeals council, or let's make it the simple answer. If they remand it back to the ALJ for a new decision, right? They're remanding it and they're saying, hey, lower court, you screwed this up. Go take another look at it by fixing this and then rendering a decision. That doesn't mean that they're going to go ahead and find you disabled. All it means is that, absolutely, Miss Sweet Lily, all that means is that basically they're going to go ahead and fix some screw up in your claim that they should have used to decide it in the first place. Now, is it something that is likely material to your claim? Yes. Otherwise, they just give you a denial and say, hey, you're right, but it's not material. So is it something that's material? Yeah, it's something material that the judge screwed up in their adjudication. Now, how does that work? You would think that judges don't really want to see these, right? Because the judge is being told that they're wrong. You are correct. The reason why is the judges don't really like to be told they're wrong. Not by attorneys, not by claimants, and sure as heck not from higher judges. So what does that mean? It means that, very simply put, the judge will receive the remand. You'll go in there for your next hearing, and basically the judge will be a little bit on their pissy toes. That's usually what happens. The judge will be directed by that, specifically. They'll be ordered by the higher court as to what they have to consider and do as part of the adjudication. At that point, the judge will look at it and say, okay, what do I want to do with this claim? Now, they can go ahead and basically say, hey, we want to, I want to go with this or that. But usually what happens with those claims is they want to change your alleged onset date to an alleged onset date that's more forward in time. And they usually want to point to some particular medical evidence that said, hey, this is when it actually got bad. And remember, too, when it comes to a remand, this is basically where the judge made an error as to law or fact or left something out of the brief as per consideration. So even if they fix it, it might not actually win you disability benefits. You still have to have the medical evidence in there to prove that you were that person, that you were disabled. Okay. Do you have to keep getting inpatient psychiatric care to keep your disability and mental health? No, you don't have to keep getting inpatient. You can get outpatient, but it has to be continuous. And usually you want to show that your medications are being swapped out, which adds proof to the situation to show that your medications are not de facto fixing the mental impairment problem that which you originally had. And here's why. If you're taking the same mental medication for 3-4 years, it shows that you're telling the doctor that the medication is working. If the medication is working, then they are going to start thinking, well, hey, how well is it working? Is it working really well, or is it just working a little bit well? And then you get into the question of, well, could they do a job? Could they do a simple job? Could they be a Walmart greeter? How much of a job could they do? So you can do outpatient, but it better be consistent, and it better be ongoing, and it better be every month, yada, yada. Okay, so let's see. Opioid meds make a strong case for disability. Yes, they do, so long as you don't have a lot of the attachments that usually go with them of using other types of drugs when you can't get the opioid-based medications. So most people who are using those drugs, to be fair, a lot of them sell their drugs. A lot of them are using other drugs once they sell their drugs, like buying crack cocaine or heroin and stuff like that, because you for pain-based issues. So can does it make a better? Yes, it does, especially with the crackdown that's going on with all the pain-based medications and the doctors and the opioid mills and the, things like that. So will it make a good claim? Yes. But remember, you better back that up with why you need them. Failed surgery, difficulty with walking because of some fusion issue that you have with the joint. You better back up why you have such a strong medication. Otherwise, it's a problem. I'm on an every 3-year review. Yeah, so basically the way reviews work is it used to be every 7 years. Now it's every 1 or 3 years. Now they're adding to it every 1, 2, or 3 years. That was the new big thing that Trump's doing with the commissioner as the new change to disability benefits. He's adding the 2-year option as well. I have Crohn's disease, diagnosed in 2017, declining health since September 2019. Well, how do you know it was declining then? I mean, when did it become severe? So you got your bag reverse. All right, so that's what you're claiming it became severe. I wouldn't say that that's definitive evidence as to when you became severe. You could have, been severe before you needed the bag. Just because you needed the bag at that point doesn't mean de facto that you became severe at that point. Remember, the standard is not when did you get the bag. The standard is when were you unable to work, and that's not like when was I unable to work full time, It's like, when were you unable to work enough to earn SGA amounts? So SGA benefits, which are substantial gainful activity benefits, which is around for 2020, $1,300. It's just under that. So remember, you could set your alleged onset date potentially before 2019. You were diagnosed in 2017. You're going to want to go into, how you're off task, how you can't focus, the problems and symptoms that you have while using the bag, all that stuff, because they're going to want to know why you can't work, and you're going to use that bag as your main focal point. But there might be other stuff in there that helps show why you were impaired before that. I'm not looking forward to seeing a shrink for 3 years or going out in the public to begin with. I really don't want to get out and tell someone how much of a slob I've become. Well, yeah, so basically it's continuous. So it's not just like every 3 years. It's like every 3, 6, 9, 12 until you basically get off of disability benefits and either go into retirement or something like that. So keep in mind, yeah, you're going to be doing it until you hit retirement. May 14th bathroom, 6 to 10 times a day. Yeah, classic example. So DBOE and DBOE. What you're going to want for your particular hearing when proving your disability benefits is an attorney that's more aggressive when it comes to vocational expert, specifically on the point of off task when it comes to the DOT, the Dictionary of Occupational Titles, because the DOT does not specify bathroom use, and it does not specify off task specifically for difficulty with the bathroom. So you're going to want an attorney that's going to be the vocational expert. Most big box firms that I've come across and heard their hearings and spoken with their claimants do not, and I repeat, do not beat up the vocational expert. Now, here's the thing with that. The vocational expert is somebody who provides jobs based upon the hypothetical that the judge gives them. And those jobs that the hypothetical, includes, well, your attorney better be beating the hell out of them unless the judge is winking at the attorney saying, I just want to prove this thing. Shut up, attorney. Let's get done with it. So in your case, May 14th, bathroom 6 to 10 times a day, you're, May 14th, that was like today. So you had your hearing, I'm guessing, today. Or maybe you're just going to the bathroom 6 to 10 times a day, which could make sense as well. But the bottom line here is, and it's very important when it comes down to it, you're going to want to go ahead and prove and show how you'd be off task and miss days because of all of this. Okay, so let's see. Opioids could have helped me reduce my disability, but where in the hell can one find anyone to prescribe them? Yeah, that's the new problem, which is that doctors are afraid to prescribe heavy pain medications, which is why if you want heavy pain medication, you have to go specifically to a pain specialist. Otherwise, all the regular doctors that usually were, doing the big pain pills, you really can't get it through them anymore because the insurance companies made it so that people can't get them. Is it bad to wait 2 years to see a shrink, then start the year before the review? Yeah. You got to be seeing a shrink continuously throughout this entire process. You don't go to one for 2 years, they're going to use that to try and kick you off the benefits train. Just get your pain meds from one doctor and try to get them from multiple doctors. Yeah, you're just going to want to get your pain meds from a pain specialist, especially those types. I'm confused on this question. Do you have to keep doing inpatient? Why would you want to do it if you didn't have to and we're getting better? Do you not want to go back to work? Okay, so let me kind of go through that. Some people, which would allow a person to go ahead and get better. So hold on, the internet just cut out. So are there any surgeries, treatments, medications, or therapies that would allow you to get better? I always ask that during the hearing. So Nikki, the thing is, some people have impairments that will get better, and you could potentially go back to work, and that's awesome. They have what's called a Ticket to Work program, which will help you actually get off of disability benefits and go back to work. But then there's a lot of people like Don Darrell who have had 6 bowel resections, which basically means that he's going to have problems for the rest of his life. There's no improvement here. That's going to be at the point where he can work a job at SGA levels continuously going forward. So what that means is that there are some people who can improve, and then those people will basically face the point of losing their benefits, which is why you go on a Ticket to Work program. Some people will not improve no matter what happens. Brain trauma, slip discs when they're not willing to do surgery, bowel issues when it comes to multiple surgeries on the intestine, cardiac issues that can't be operated on. There are some things that definitively a person is disabled and they will die with and from that impairment. So let's go back to it. Do you have to keep doing inpatient? No, you can do outpatient, but you better continuously do it. Why would you want to do it if you didn't have to and we're getting better? If you're getting better, cool. Use a Ticket to Work program so that you can keep your benefits for an extended period and go ahead and receive the money from work. Do you not want to go back to work? A lot of people don't want to go back to work, and for some people, it's dangerous to go back to work. So some people, if you said, hey, just go back to work, they'd actually die from going to work. I also have Crohn's disease, have had 6 bowel resections. I'm on multiple meds for this. My doctor only has me come in 3 times a year. Is this enough doctor visits? So here's the deal. That is enough doctor's visits, but on the low end for a specialist, that is not enough doctor visits for a general practitioner. So you're going to want to go in for potentially more specialists, just a few more, and for general practitioner, a heck of a lot more. Now, if you're just going to be going to that one specialist, you better be going to them every 2 to 3 months. Are you expected to improve over 50? Yes, you are. Basically, they leave people that are 58, 50 alone and up. If you're over 50, they're still going to put you through some short forms and some long forms for consultative or for CDRs, continuing disability reviews. And at that point, they'll basically review to see if you are still disabled under their program. And remember, guys, this is important. The program is constantly changing. Once again, the program is constantly changing. So what that means is that while you may be disabled on this program today, 7 years from now, you may not still be considered disabled based upon the changed rules and listings on this program nowadays. So just keep in mind, you may be on it now, but you might get kicked off in the future. And that's one of the things that I always tell people is, look, this is awesome. This is great. But, you know, keep going to the doctor, keep showing how your impairments aren't improving or getting worse. And of course, if you want to go the Nikki McDonald route, which is to improve and then go back to work, you can do that as well, which is a really admirable and amazing thing to do because it gets you back into the work environment. Yeah. So yeah, that's true. If you guys want to call me, let me put the number up there so that you can do it, and I'll run some quick questions. So, okay, another thing I want to address with you guys is this. I've been doing hearing prep questions, but I haven't really been beating you guys up. I haven't really been tricking you. I've been kind of explaining how to watch out for things, what to do about certain things that are problematic. I've kind of been babying the system a little bit. So the problem here is one of these claimants that calls in, I'm going to actually dig into how one of these judges would do. And you'll see how tricky and how scrunched the claimant becomes because they're not able to figure out a way out of what they said. Because the way judges work is they'll take, for example, a statement you made, and then they'll take you for a walk, and they'll keep asking you questions, and they'll keep going into more detail about that statement that you made. And they won't touch right on it because they know if they touch right on it, you'll figure out that you screwed up and you'll try and fix it. But they'll dance around it, and they'll dance around it until finally they've gotten you to put enough statements out there that lock you into exactly what you said before. And that's when they drop the hammer. Judges are great at doing smaller concentric circles with figuring out what's going on with you until they reach the point in which they basically have enough information to drop the hammer on you and make you look like a liar or somebody who didn't intend to say something but can't fix it at that point. They do that all the time. Are people realizing what's going on? If they don't have an attorney that tells them the trick question ahead of time, almost no every time. Okay. I'm moving and we'll have to find new doctors. Okay, so Nikki, here's the thing. If you're horrible on the phone, what you have to do is figure out what it was that you said on the phone that was so bad, and then basically submit a 795 statement that goes into detail as to those things that you're trying to go ahead and fix. So long as you can fix those statements you made with the 795 statement, they'll put that into the official federal record, and that'll become the replacement for what you said. Can the judge still consider why you were shitty on the phone and had a time answering questions on the phone? Yes. But if you fix the things you said via 795 statement, that's going to become the new standard that they go forward with. Thank you, Willie Williams. Let's see. Dr. Spy called, but I don't have a phone. I have Apple Wi-Fi calling. Yeah, that's fine. Somebody else will call in too. Dr. Spock. Damn, that answer scares me about the system changing and we could lose benefits. Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit more about that. Here are things you need to worry about. A lot of people don't think about this stuff. They don't go, oh my God, this could be terrible, blah, 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 blah. Here are things that you need to worry about how the system works going forward. Okay, so let's go through this real quick. Things that you need to worry about. The system could potentially, oh, we're getting a phone call. Let's do this. I'll go back to this though. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. Are you looking to run some hearing questions? Perfect. One moment. Okay, I'm now putting you on speakerphone for YouTube Live. Just a quick disclaimer. There's no attorney-client privilege with this. What you need to know is that when you use a name, use a fake name. Other than that, are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, so walk me through this. How old are you?
36.
36. What are the top 5 impairments that you have?
PTSD, anxiety, angry outbursts, temper.
Okay, so mostly mental, you would say, correct?
Yes.
Any physical impairments?
No.
Okay.
I have asthma.
Do you have asthma? Okay. How bad is the asthma?
Yeah. It's pretty bad. I get it when I'm around animals.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so help me out with this. What do you feel is the most severe mental impairment that you have out of all of them?
Was anxiety.
Okay. With the anxiety, do you get panic attacks?
I get anxiety attacks. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack.
Okay, so walk me through this. You feel like you're going to have a heart attack. What types of layouts, what types of situations, what types of moments seem to trigger you to get really excited?
When I have a lot going on, like if I'm working and there's a delivery that needs to be made and I'm stressed out at work.
Okay. Okay. Where do you work?
Trigger it.
What kind of job do you have?
I'm not working right now.
Okay. When was the last time you worked?
I was working in manufacturing.
Yeah. Okay.
I was also in the Army for 7 years.
Okay. What's your VA rating?
100%.
So you're 100. All right. So look, this is not a hard claim to win then, because you've got the 100% VPAT allowance. Can you do me a favor? Write down the following. Let me know when you're ready.
Oh, okay. Hold on 1 sec, please.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
You're going to need to write down the following code. The code is I, as in igloo, -2-1-40, subsection A, subsection 2. That's the statute you're going to use to get your claim expedited. Do you have a hearing coming up?
Yes.
When's your hearing?
My hearing's June 22nd.
Okay. Is it what state is it in?
Florida.
Okay. So walk me through this. So you're in the state of Florida. You're having these issues. What kind of medications are you currently taking, and what are they for?
I'm taking a bunch of medications. I'm taking bupropion, and acamprostate, clotidine, divalproex, hydroxyzine, melatonin, trazodone, venlafaxine, and then I also get a shot that's called paliperidone.
Okay. Can you tell me, per each medication, if you know what they are, or in general, if you're not sure, what side effects do you get per each medication?
For the trazodone, I'm still real sleepy in the morning when I wake up, so I stay in bed before I get up. Since I take all the medications at the same time, it's kind of hard for me to tell which ones do which, but I do have problems with like concentration and memory.
Okay. So help me out with this. What was the last job you worked?
I worked in a manufacturing company, and I last worked there in 2017.
Okay, so we're talking about 3 years. What'd you manufacture?
We made power converters for space parts.
Oh, that's
for
so
space
cool.
Companies.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, I don't know if you know this, but one of my dreams was to actually do space law, talking about and writing contracts and agreements that are between nations that want to go into space, or basically somebody that's going to take over some rock that somebody already claimed to go ahead and mine something out of it, or perhaps to do the contractual agreements or the layout for what's going to happen when they create a bigger space station, etc. That's actually a dream of mine. I live right next to, I live on the Space Coast area. So that's super cool that you're doing that. That means, yeah. So that means that you were working with unique metals. That means that this was not a traditional commercial-based electrical unit. Tell me, what was so difficult about that job that you had to stop working there?
I had a lot of angry outbursts. Actually, when I quit the job, I had an angry outburst, and I started screaming and yelling at everybody. And I threw the trash can. I threw my coffee on the ground, and I stormed out. And then, but before that, I also had a bunch of angry outbursts with various coworkers. And yeah, that was the worst of it. And then since I was a supervisor, I didn't have that much supervision over me, so I could get away with being off task.
Uh-huh.
So, like, if I was having problems with my PTSD, like my anxiety or whatever, like, I could, like, go to my car, or I could just, like, kind of zone out at my desk and no one would notice.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it just got to be too much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So help me out with this. Obviously, did you quit or did they fire you? I mean, you could have gone either way with that, I'm guessing.
I quit.
Okay. So help me out with this. You've had these problems for an extended period. Obviously, 2017, that was kind of a moment in time, right, where enough was enough and you couldn't handle it anymore. Have you been doing odd jobs since then?
No. I went to school twice, and I ended up having to drop all my classes.
Okay. What'd you go to school
both
for?
times.
Yeah.
The first time was for entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
It was a certificate program at
Mm-hmm.
the community college in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had an outburst with one of the other students.
Mm-hmm.
And but I had to miss a bunch of classes because, like, I couldn't go to class because I was having problems with my anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And just, like, problems with my PTSD and
Nightmares, are these flashbacks?
both. I get both.
Okay. What are they about?
I get a flashback, like, from my Iraq experience.
Gotcha.
And I also went to Afghanistan. I had some bad experiences there.
Okay.
But, like, the flashbacks, like, I flash back to when we flew a Iraqi's head off.
Sure.
And I get flashbacks of that.
Okay.
Flashbacks of other wartime.
Is it the sound?
stuff.
Was it the graphic of the head exploding? What was it?
It was just seeing that was pretty traumatizing.
Now, were you the
She was
shooter?
a bad guy, but it was still traumatizing.
Oh, of course. No, you're in war. You're in war. You know, the rules of ethical conduct are completely different than society. Now, were you the shooter or was somebody else the shooter?
I was one of the teachers.
Okay. So now let me ask you this. The VA has worked with you to go ahead and get you to accept what happened over there. Why do you feel it didn't work?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Sure. The VA has been
I'm sorry,
working.
I didn't understand.
No, that's okay. The VA has been working with you to get you to the point where, you know, you won't have blow-ups, you won't freak out, you won't have as bad of flashbacks, you won't have, you know, reaction-based, nightmares and things like that. Why have they been not effective in getting you through your PTSD, flashbacks, and nightmares?
I don't know. I'm trying everything I can to get better. You know, I quit drinking alcohol. I quit tobacco. I tried going to a group, a weekly group meeting with other veterans
Mm-hmm.
before the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying everything I can, but, you know, I still get flashbacks. I still have nightmares. I think the medication and the therapy, I think it helps a little bit, but I don't think it's... I still need to get better, though.
Okay. Help me out with this. Out of the following groups of people, who do you get along with the least? Bosses, friends, family, coworkers, or the general public?
I would say coworkers.
And why do you have a tough time with coworkers?
I had like at my last manufacturing job, like I'd ask them to do something and then they wouldn't do it or they'd blow me off. It would make me really upset.
Okay. So walk me through this. You just had bad coworkers that weren't doing their side of what they had to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Small things.
Yeah.
You know, other people would look at it and they'd say small things, but like I can't help it. Like it triggers my anger, and then like I'll be just thinking about that for most of the day. Something small.
You're a blow up type, right? You sit there, you get angry, you blow up, and then you feel better.
Yeah, but I don't really feel better. I feel embarrassed afterwards.
Okay.
And then I feel depressed, and then sometimes I'll have a crying spell.
Okay.
Where, you know, I have a crying spell because just everything that's going on just kind of crashes on me.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Can you give me 2 real life examples in your life of the types of people that are problematic for you?
There's 2 types. Like coworkers or?
Yeah, coworkers or people that are problematic in your life.
I would say coworkers the most.
Mm-hmm. And what are 2 examples of that?
And then also at restaurants too. Like I got into it with the lady that was taking my order.
So she was taking your order and she knew.
And she, I wanted a side of bread.
Sure.
And she said it already came with bread. And I was like, I know that. I was like, I want the side of bread also. And then she didn't understand. And then she said something that kind of made me mad. And then I had an angry outburst.
Well,
and then she's like,
yeah. So
and then she's like, yeah, it's just food. And then that just triggered my anger even more.
Gotcha. Well, you know, at Olive Garden, if they don't provide enough breadsticks, it's at least a class 1 felony. So I hear you. I hear you. Let me ask you this. When blame is to be apportioned for something that went wrong, how do you handle being questioned by other people as to why it went wrong?
I get defensive. Sometimes if people are questioning me, sometimes I feel like they're getting at me about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like being told what to do, really.
Okay.
By my boss. I've gotten into it with my bosses. Gotten into it with my family members. Like, there's a lot of people in my life that I've had angry outbursts with.
Okay. So help me out with this. What are you doing to currently control, and this is how the judge will bring it forward. What are you doing to control your outbursts, your angry outbursts going forward?
Well, I take clotidine. So I take clotidine. I make sure I have it with me. And my doctor gave me that to take when I'm having like a PTSD episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that. I'm not going to group because of the coronavirus thing, but I'm going to go back to that. Pretty much avoid a lot of triggers, or at least I try my best to avoid triggers like loud noises or crowded places or restaurants I don't feel comfortable at. So I avoid those places if I have to go, or if I don't, I get really bad anxiety.
Well, walk me through this. Do you have a girlfriend in your life?
No.
Do your parents help you?
Yeah, my dad helps me financially.
Okay.
He also with groceries and gas.
Mm-hmm. You able to get along with the people on the softball team?
No, not all the time. I got into it with one of the guys. We almost got into a fist fight. So not all the time. And then there's guys on the team that don't call, and they just no call, no show. And that makes me really upset.
Okay.
And I don't make all the games. I miss a bunch of the games too, because sometimes I just can't go.
Okay. Here's what I'm going to recommend, because I'm kind of running out of time, and I have a gentleman that wants me to run.
I do.
Okay.
I haven't spoke with her yet.
Okay.
I have a teleconference with her this Monday.
Okay. So she should be able to answer, hopefully, a lot of those questions. Make sure you get her to go ahead and run questions with you for the upcoming.
And I should give you a call tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll help you out either way. Normally I'm not supposed to basically help people out who are already ready either way. That's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll just go to. I'll just talk with my attorney. If I have any questions, I'll hit you up if that's.
Okay, guys. So real quick, Willie, shoot me your phone number real quick. I'm going to give you a call, and then we'll get this ball rolling. Let me see. Your phone number. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it up here. I don't know how to search these, so let me see if I can. There it is. Okay. Pull up the app. Click here. Here we go. Howdy, good sir. How you doing, Attorney Walter Hnot? Are you ready to run some questions?
Yeah, that's where the Astros are spring training commission, wherever you live. Look, I want to lay it out.
Sure.
When I was in Germany, I hit a guy with one of those big beer mugs. I hit him in the head.
Sure.
Blood spattered everywhere. Only a general could get me out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a situation, the reason why I had MST.
Mm-hmm.
So when that, did the deal. So after I got out of the military, I was working as an intern at Howard Johnson Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
They asked me to do something, and I threw everything on the floor, dishes and everything, and walked out. Also at Service Merchandise back in 1987.
Okay.
I'm fast forwarding on to 1999. A boss asked me to front up some stuff at Office D. I hit him, and I had a felony assault charge. I could not teach for 5 years because you can't teach for 5 years. I mean, you can't teach if you got a felony. But they had this congressman out of Dallas
mm-hmm.
that passed the bill. If you don't get in trouble, then you get expunged. So I got it expunged. I started teaching special ed. The roughest kids from Houston. When the school districts can't handle them, they send them to me. ABC East, ABC West, High Point East, High Point. Well, I worked at all of them.
Sure. But
I'm saying, because I worked with kids with disabilities, CPS came to my job twice.
Mm-hmm.
Just a month ago, a guy, I let him try to fix my lawnmower. He didn't fix my lawnmower, and he kept my money.
Mm-hmm.
In front of Walmart. I switched around and I rammed his car.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go to jail for that.
Mm-hmm.
I have PTSD. I have anxiety. My kids don't want to deal with me. So I'm a military guy. So I filed for the military deal, and it went all the way to the Board of Veterans Affairs. The Board of Veterans Affairs, that's top deal, right?
Yeah, that's not the top, but yeah, that's high up.
I mean, that's the highest. I mean, you can't, when you appeal, you can't go higher than that. It's almost like the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the VA at the regional office, switched the paperwork up, and I've already been diagnosed with PTSD, and the regional office said, yes, the Board of Veterans Affairs Appeals said you have PTSD. We don't think so. We think it's drugs and alcohol. Well, I've been clean for 10 years, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a hearing on the 19th of May for Social Security. My phone, she called me today, kind of ironic that I'm talking to you. I was driving and she called me. She said, we're going to call you at 8:30 on May 19th. We want you to have your phone ready. So here it is. I'm ready. I'm ready. Social Security, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you got a hearing around the corner.
Cool.
All right. So then this is important because this means now I know, have you looked up which particular judge you have and what their percent passage rate is?
I don't have that percentage, but I could tell you one thing, that when I was in college, I was the #1 interviewer in this little program I was in out of the whole country. We went to Kansas City and everybody competed, and I became #1. Like a job interview, they just put us in the office and they asked us questions, and out of everybody there, I was #1. So as far as answering the questions, I can answer. Okay. But you're a tough lawyer. I watch you all the time, man. You come off as arrogant, but that's not true. I don't think so.
So,
yes.
Good, sir. Go ahead and state your full name for the record, but use a fake name for this purpose.
My name is Bob Sally.
What is your date of birth, current age, and dominant hand?
12/10/64.
Current age and dominant hand.
My dominant hand is left, and I'm 55 years old.
What is your height and weight, and has your weight fluctuated over the past year?
My weight has fluctuated. It fluctuated because what I do is I eat whenever I get angry. I'm at 370 pounds now, mm-hmm. and a lot of my problems, I try to resort to food as a comfort whenever I get angry.
Okay. Did you ever work for the military, and have you ever been a citizen of another country?
I've never been a citizen of another country, but I did go to Germany. Yes, I worked in the military.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Are you homeless or with a dwelling?
I do have a dwelling. I just recently got a divorce because of my anger and outbursts. My wife in May filed for divorce. Mm-hmm. She gave me the house, and my kids moved out of the house because they couldn't live with me. So once my ex-wife got her house, they moved back with her. But they were staying with friends. But while I was in the house with them, they couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle the screaming. They couldn't handle the emotional outbursts. They couldn't handle me critiquing them on every little thing. They couldn't handle my cursing.
What's your current BMI index?
It's I don't know, it may be 13, 14.
Is it a 1-story or 2-story house?
It's a 2-story house.
Where's the kitchen located?
The kitchen is located downstairs.
Where's your bedroom located?
Upstairs.
Where's the bathroom located?
I have one in my room, and I have 3 bathrooms.
Okay. All right. So you currently have how many children?
I have 3 children.
And what are their ages?
One is 21. She's at pharmacy school in Florida A&M. That's why she went to Florida A&M, was because to get away from me. I have a 19-year-old that works at the church, and she went to stay with her pastor, and she couldn't deal with me. Mm-hmm. And I have my 13-year-old who's in the room right now playing that game they always play. And I'm pretty cool with her.
Okay. Do you receive food stamps or any other governmental program benefits via the federal, state, or county governments?
No, I don't.
Okay. Currently or within the past 5 years, did you receive or achieve any permits, licenses, or allowances on behalf of the federal, state, or county?
I haven't. I got a nonprofit, but that was 10 years ago.
Okay. Are you currently or have you been within the past 5 years a member of any clubs or unions, whether for recreational or professional purposes?
Yes, I'm part of a fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, mm-hmm. and right now I'm at odds with the chapter. I had to go to another chapter because I had an angry outburst at the chaplain. So now I'm at a Sigma, Theta Sigma.
Okay. Walk me through this. What's your highest level of education that you completed?
I have 4 years of college. I played football with Michael Strahan at Texas Southern University for 4 years.
Okay. And after that education, did you achieve any additional certificates, diplomas, or acknowledgments?
Yes, I got a teaching certification.
Okay. So help me out with this. While you were in college or other academia, did you receive any special accommodations while in school, such as SLDs, EHs, 504s, or IEPs?
No, I didn't, but I was sedated on cocaine to cover up for the MST, and I had to struggle through school with a very, very vicious drug addiction.
Okay. What are your top 5 impairments?
My top 5 impairments are PTSD, sleep apnea, anxiety, depression, and anger outbursts.
Okay. Can you tell me this, when it comes to these impairments, with the PTSD, what does that stem from?
It stems from a situation that happened in the military where a guy, I just got to the military, I just got to Germany, and he said, hey, let's go to the movies. And next thing you know, I saw his penis right there near my face, and that's all I remember.
Okay. And what happened thereafter? Did you attack him? Did he attack you?
I attacked him. I hit him in the head. I saw him at the mall in Hanau, Germany, right outside Frankfurt. And I hit him in the head with one of those thick beer mugs, and blood skidded everywhere. And the German police, the police out, took me to jail, and only a general could get me out of jail.
Okay. Help me out with this. With the anxiety, how does that affect your daily home activities?
It affects my daily activity where no matter what I do, I'm always rushing, I'm always racing, I'm always nervous, I'm never cool, calm, and collective. It's been like that for the past 3 or 4 years, and it's getting worse.
Okay. Help me out with this. With the depression, how does that affect your ability to work?
It affects my ability to work because every time I go to work, I'm always down, and then when a kid say something to me, I snap off at the kid. And then when the kids snap off at me, somebody come and the teacher, I get into it with a teacher. And whenever you get into it with a teacher in front of kids, the first thing they tell the principal was, he screamed at me in front of the kids. So whenever you do anything in front of the kids, it's almost a certain ramification.
What medications are you taking? What are they for, and what side effects do you get per medication?
I'm taking Naltrexone. I'm taking Bupropion. What's the name of Bupropion.
And Buspirone.
And yes, and I get a dry mouth. I also get numb fingers, and I drop everything because of the numb fingers, and I trip over any and everything, and I knock over stuff constantly knocking over stuff. And I talked to my doctor today. She's gonna cut my. I take 1 pill in the morning, 1 pill in the evening, but I was taking 3 in the morning, and I called her and told her that there's something wrong with me. I think I've been voodooed. And she said, well, it may be the side effects from the medicine. I also get dry mouth, and I get headaches, and there's an array of things that happens to me.
Okay. Is it both hands that get the numb fingers, or is it just one hand?
It's more on my left hand, but I do have it on my right. And I talked to my mom. My mom, she takes the same medication, and kind of ironically, I talked to her last night, and she said she has the same side effects.
Okay. So tell me this, which would be more difficult for you, repetitive typing on a keyboard, peeling a label off a piece of fruit, or pinching toothpaste out of a tube?
Could you repeat that, sir?
Sure. Which would be more difficult for you, repetitive typing on a keyboard, peeling a label off a piece of fruit, or pinching toothpaste out of a tube?
I get frustrated when I'm trying to peel something off and I can't peel it off. Sometimes I throw it down. In terms of, anything else, I have a pretty rough time with all of those. And typing on a computer, it's kind of hard because it's hard for me to focus. I can't focus, and whenever I can't focus, I get frustrated.
What would be more difficult for you while picking up an item at night that you couldn't see off the ground? Feeling the size of it, the temperature of it, or the texture of the object on your fingertips?
It doesn't matter what it is. It could be anything. It could be a fruit. It could be a glass of water. It could be anything. In fact, I sent pictures to my doctor of my soda from Whataburger on the ground. I've sent pictures of my orange juice that I'm from New Orleans, so I say orange, trumping all my disabilities.
Okay, what would be harder for you, cutting an orange into 4 pieces with a knife, peeling the skin off of an orange by hand, or using a handheld peeler on the zest of an orange?
I would say equally on all of them. It's just real hard to do some small things like that because if it doesn't go my way, I get frustrated.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, if I handed you an orange, would it be harder to receive it at waist level, relaxed elbow level, shoulder level, or eye level?
It would be hard to receive it eye level because if you try to give it to me eye level, I'm always looking down because I'm real depressed. So it's very seldom I'm looking up.
So do you have pain in your body, and where's the worst pain if you do?
The worst pain I have really is my headaches, but I do have a knee that I broke in Germany, and my left foot. I was able to play football, but by being older and I had an injury, my play was limited.
Okay. Do you use a cane, crutch, wheelchair, walker, knee cart, sling, or other ambulatory orthopedic device?
I use a cane. I use a cane, and my doctor has acknowledged that my left foot was injured in the military, and I'm currently receiving 2% for that.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? Are you able to climb ladders, ropes, scaffolds, or crawl under vehicles?
I can do all of those things because, my foot is not the situation, but the situation is once I climb under the car and I'm fixing on the car, and if I can't get the screw off the nut, then I get frustrated and I'm going to throw the tool down or throw it out of the thing and just break something else, and I'm back where I started.
Okay. What about ramps or stairs? You have any difficulty with those, ascending or descending?
Well, I do because I have sleep apnea, and of course I'm overweight. And because I'm overweight, it's hard for me to get up and down the stairs. But it's totally directed to what happened to me in the military.
Okay. When you walk, are you at drop risks? Do you have balance issues? And do you experience swelling?
I don't experience swelling, but I do have difficulty walking.
Okay. So when you walk, about how far can you walk before you have to stop and rest?
It varies. It varies. It depends on the temperature and like if it's hot, of course it's going to take a long time. But when it's cold, I do have a little more stamina.
Let's talk about environmental restrictions. Those are things like heat, cold, dust, loud sounds, dampness, humidity, vibration, pollen, things like that, things in the environment which limit your ability to do functional tasks based upon your impairments. Other than heat and cold, which you just specified, are there any other elements that in the environment cause your impairments to become worse?
I think one of the worst ones is tough situations. Whenever I'm in a situation, environment of trying to figure out something, or if I'm at a store and they don't give me my receipt, or if I get into constant arguments, no matter where it is, Walmart or whatever, known in my time as a angry person.
So let me ask you this. I know you're a drop risk because of the weight issues, and I understand that. So let me ask you this. What is more difficult for you? Picking a pencil up off the floor, buttoning a button, picking a dime up off a table, putting on a long sleeve t-shirt, or writing down in the morning what you need to accomplish for that day?
It varies because it depends on the level of my side effects. If my hands are real numb, it will be hard to do small things. And if it's not numb, then I'm able to pick up big things, but I can't feel them as much.
Okay. So can you explain to me the numbness in the hands? Why would you have a hard time picking up small objects?
The reason why is because when I try to pick them up, I don't feel them. And I have these tentacles seem like on my hands. When I rub my fingers together, it's almost as if I put my hands over sandpaper. So I have these funny feelings. And when I look, there is nothing there. So I'm thinking that is the numbness that's causing that. But when I look at my hand, I'm looking at my hand, and it feels like I have like I scuffed them with a sandpaper, and it has that feeling. But when I look at my hands, it doesn't appear that they're not rough at all, but it feels rough.
Explain to me this. How long would you be able to stand in one spot before the pain was too severe and you had to sit down or lay down?
30 to 40 minutes. Okay. I could walk with if I had to, but I'm going to have to sit down, not only because of my physical, because mentally I get frustrated.
How long would you be able to sit before you'd have to change positions due to pain?
It varies. Depends on the situation. It depends on the chair.
Okay. Walk me through this. When it comes to getting dressed, do you have to wear any type of orthopedic attire, such as special shoes or braces?
I don't have to wear no shoes or braces, but I can tell you this. I feel a lot of pain in my left foot, and my doctors are trying to help me with that, because it's been years since I had the injury in Germany, and seemed like since I got older, that injury is reoccurring.
Okay. So help me out with this. Are you able to lift the weight of your shoes, maybe a winter jacket or a pair of boots?
It varies. I can lift them. In some situations I can. Some days I can, and some days I can't.
If I asked you to go ahead and get a gallon of milk out of a refrigerator at chest height and then put it on a table at waist height, would you be able to do that with your right hand?
No, but I can do it with my left hand real good.
And why can you do it really well with your left hand and not your right hand?
Because the left hand is my strong hand.
And which is your dominant hand?
My left hand.
And help me out with this. When it comes down to doing these functional tasks, do you have any issues with your shoulders?
I have mad issues with my shoulders. It seems like, to me, when I feel my shoulder, and it almost like I jam my shoulder in the bed. When I wake up in the morning and I have trouble lifting my left shoulder over my left arm over my shoulder, and I don't. That's one of the it's kind of, you asking questions like you a fortune teller, man.
Okay. So walk me through this. When it comes to doing functional tasks around the house, are you able to do your own laundry?
Not my own laundry. I get my daughter to do my laundry. But the simple fact is, it's kind of hard standing in front of the wash machine and a long period of time. I put the clothes in. It's kind of hard putting these clothes in because of my shoulder.
Okay. Are you able to lift a basket of dirty laundry?
No, I can't.
Okay. Are you able to lift a soap container?
Soap container?
Yeah.
Soap container. Yes, I can lift a soap container, but it's hard grabbing it though sometimes. Okay. Because it's numbness in my fingers.
Okay, make sure you specify one arm is good, one arm is bad for lifting it up. And the other thing I'm looking at is, because you didn't specify what size the soap container is, I'm automatically assuming it's the gallon size, which means I can use that to say that you can lift over a certain amount. Okay. So good. So let me ask you this. What about cooking? Are you able to cook for yourself and the other people that are at your house?
Yes, I'm able to cook at my house, but I can't have sharp objects around. And also the safe is locked because we have a gun in there. So I can cook, but I can't cook with sharp objects.
So what's the type of food that you might be able to cook? What's an example of something that you might be able to prepare?
I can prepare some pretty good meals. Like I can boil eggs. I can make myself a sandwich. I can do stuff like that. But it's not like I can do a whole lot.
Okay. Well, what about, for example, having to pay bills? Are you able to handle doing the accounting on your bills, balance a checkbook, or perhaps go ahead and do some basic accounting in general at the end of the year for your taxes?
It's kind of funny you ask that because my ex-wife is paying my bills right now, even though I'm giving her the money to, because I could never pay my bills because of the type of situation that I have when I call. I want to get a bill, past due. I want to get it extended. They say you can't extend it, and I go off on them. And when I go off on them, then they don't want to talk to me no more.
Okay. Let me ask you this. What about when, for example, you have to go ahead and clean the house? No issues there, I would presume?
Most clothes, because I can't put the clothes on my shoulder, and I can't, if I leave the Ajax upstairs, and I can't really go back upstairs to get it, so I have to leave the bathroom dirty. So just have a lot of issues going on with me.
Okay. Now, help me out with this. You live in a house, so what about the outside? Are you mowing the lawn? You should be doing the hedging, things like that?
I get somebody to do the hedging, and I get somebody to do the lawn. Again, it's the sharp objects that I got to stay away from.
Okay. And help me out with this. Who's paying for the lawn maintenance?
The lawn maintenance is my ex-wife.
Okay. And how long has she been paying for these different functions?
She's been paying for those functions ever since she's been helping move my bills, about 3 years.
About 3 years now. Okay. Now help me out with this. Have you applied for any jobs within the past 3 years or since that 2017 job?
I haven't applied any jobs. I was teaching 2 years ago, and I quit teaching because I told them if I don't quit teaching, I'm going to hurt a kid. And when I grabbed the kid, CPS came. They interviewed me, and my aide really covered up for me. And I'm just gonna be honest. I know people say, if you say something about what happened with a kid, they could call the officers and stuff like that. But I just have to be honest with you. I have had bouts where I grabbed kids because of frustration.
Now, help me out with this. When it comes to hygiene, you're able to take a shower, you're able to prepare things in the morning, kind of get through the regular morning routine?
Well, I can, but because of my weight, it's kind of hard for me to wipe my backside. So my ex-wife had to do that. So, but since she's been gone, I really have been trying to do it, but it's really been tough, with my shoulder and also my weight.
Okay. Are you able to shave your face, do the basic functions like that?
I can shave it, but I have to have a razor with a guard on it, because I do have suicidal issues.
Okay. I'm going to cut in here before I go to transportation because I haven't really been going into things and opportunities that were missed. But with hygiene, you didn't bring up grab bars. You didn't bring up special things installed in your bathroom to keep you up due to being a fall risk, due to having difficulty with your knees, due to having difficulty with your hands and holding things. You didn't go into having a shower stool as part of your showering experience. So there were a lot of opportunities there where I could call into question your ability to be a fall risk and say, well, he takes a shower and doesn't have any of these other things that he mentioned, ergo.
Okay,
yeah.
Let me ask you, so my deal is PTSD, anger, everything. Will they ask me about some physical stuff?
Oh, absolutely. And if they don't, there's a problem. You want them to cover every single impairment that you have because they add up to totality of the circumstances, show why you can't do a job in the national economy,
Got it.
Yeah. Let's talk about transportation. Walk me through this. How do you transport yourself to your doctor's appointments?
My ex-wife takes me. I call her, and she comes and take me to the appointment. I do drive short distances, but I can't drive long distances because of my side effects.
What to you is a long distance?
A long distance is 20 miles for me.
20 miles? Okay, walk me through this. Is that 20 miles that equates to 30 minutes, or is that 20 miles that equates to an hour?
That's 20 miles equate to an hour in Houston because Houston is a big city, and it depends on the traffic.
Okay. So you're able to sit continuously for an hour, and then after that hour, what happens? What do you feel?
When I feel anxiety, because I'm looking at the cars and I'm trying to hold on because, I feel like the car's coming after me or the car's coming at me. So I was in a head-on collision in 1999. So coupled with that head-on collision and my anxiety, it calls for a bad ride with me.
What kind of a vehicle is it?
It's a RAV4.
It's RAV4. Is it lifted?
6.
Okay. Big tires. Is it lifted? Anything like that?
It's not lifted. The reason why it's not lifted because I need a car I can step up and down in. I can't get in a big truck. I can't get in a big SUV.
Okay, good. Walk me through this. If you receive the benefits, how would you use them?
If I received my benefits, I would use them to pay my bills and to live my life and to. I made $56,000 a year every year. So I've been working since I was 16. Job has never been a problem, and I noticed that I maxed out on like that at the VA.
Okay, what about cigarettes? Do you use cigarettes?
I don't smoke cigarettes.
Do you drink at all?
I don't drink.
When was the last time you used cocaine?
10 years ago. 6909.
And how are you assured it was that time?
June, July, August, September, January, March, April, May.
Mm-hmm.
God dog, man, I just missed my sobriety date. I forgot. 6'9". Oh, God. Oh, thank you. I'm 11 years now, man.
That's good. Congratulations, because that's a huge, huge step in the right direction. So walk me through this. Do you have a Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn account?
Say again, Judge?
Do you have a Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn account?
I have Facebook and Twitter.
Okay. And on Facebook, what do you do with it?
I do everything, but what I do is I try to look happy, try to take my friends out when all actuality, I'm really depressed. But if you look at my Facebook, you will see a happy person, but that's not a microcosm of me.
Well, tell me about it. What makes you a happy person on there?
What makes me a happy person? A happy person is a person that's trying to really portray a happy life, like nothing happened to me in the military. Like I don't think about the military sexual trauma that happened to me. If I can show a good light in the public, then what happens is I feel more comfortable when I can try to hide, and that's what I use. I use Facebook and I use Twitter as a way to try to make people think I'm all normal, but in all actuality, that's far from the truth.
So what would I see on there? Would I see pictures of you driving in different cars? Would I see you at different locations? Where do you go?
You will see me at different locations. You will see me doing everything to make my friends believe that I'm along with them, and I do a pretty good job of faking my friends out, of making them believe that everything is normal in my life.
Why do you feel it's necessary to show your friends that you live a different life than you actually do?
Because if I do it, then they won't see the pain and the heartache that I go through because of my military sexual trauma.
Help me out with this. What are examples of places that you go to show your friends that you're not really having mental impairment issues?
I go a lot of places. I go to restaurants. I go to places where, with people and I can't stay there that long because I usually fall out with my friends and yeah.
So when you say you can't stay there long, how long are you at these locations?
I can stay for like 15 to maybe an hour sometimes, but I'm really very uncomfortable around people, even though it looks like I'm around people. Mostly I am very isolated no matter where I go. I can be in a crowded room, a crowded club, a crowded restaurant, But the truth of the matter is, I cannot socialize with people, and I usually sit at a table by myself, and I feel very awkward, even though on surface it looks like I'm in a place that I want to be. And also because I don't drink is another reason why I don't feel comfortable.
Okay. So help me out with this. You're going to these places, you have meals with your friends. What do you usually order for food at these places?
I usually order, it depends on when I take my medicine, of course, one of my medicines, the neutrality, it has if I'm hungry, I would get whatever it is there, but if I'm not hungry, I would get a salad. A lot of times I don't feel hungry. In fact, it has helped me lose weight.
Okay, so you talked about weight limitations, heavy weight, BMI issues. You're talking about salads now, but let's be honest with each other. You don't stay at that weight by utilizing salads. So what foods do you traditionally use when you go out to eat with your friends? Is it steak? Is it pizza? Hamburgers? What is it?
Hot dogs, pizza, papados. I'm from New Orleans, so of course the boudin,
sure, crawfish, yeah.
Po' boys, crawfish, most of that.
Okay, well, how about this then? So you're eating these foods with your friends. Who's affording to pay for your nights out?
It depends. Sometimes my fraternity brothers pay for it. Sometimes my ex-wife pay for it. But I've been having financial issues, so I sure ain't been paying for it.
Mm-hmm. So help me out with this. When it comes down to your ability to stay out, you said you could stay out for an hour, and then when you have to travel back, that's another hour. So it's a total of 3 hours for this event. Why do you get along with your brothers so well as opposed to other people?
I don't get along with my brother. My brother lives in Chattanooga. My fraternity brothers?
Yes.
I don't get along with my fraternity brothers. I had to change the chapter because of I accused one of they picture me as paranoid. They picture me as they just picture me in some ways that causes a lot of friction to me. They don't value me as a person. They just demean me. So I have that feeling, and one of the reasons why I have that feeling is because of what happened to me in the military.
Okay, so help me out with this. You said you had to switch chapters. So are you with a new group now, or how does that work?
I'm with a new group. It's been 2 months since I've been in a new group, and they named me the director of education, and they made me be a co-director with another guy because they didn't want me to take his job. And me and him, we was at odds over. We had a phone conference because of the COVID, and he was saying I. He wasn't saying we. So over the Zoom conference, we got into a confrontation because I felt like he should have been saying we.
Okay. So help me out with this. When it comes down to, this new thing, it sounds like you're doing well with this educational platform as a director of education. Is that correct?
No, I'm not, because we had one chapter meeting, and then the rest been over the phone. So I really haven't had a chance to do that. And the only reason why I'm the education guy is because I can implement plans, but I cannot work directly with kids because of my anger, my PTSD.
Okay. So this is a job that you're working right now. You said you're very good at working out the plans for it and creating these systems for it. Can you help me out with this system that you're putting together? What's an example of a really cool, genius part of it that you worked on?
I used the platform to get tickets for kids that might do real good in school. I contact the Rockets, the Astros, the Texans to see if they can work with kids. I have to work harder to service kids, but despite my disabilities and everything, I think that, I try to overcome those just so I can make a difference in the society.
So with these kids that you're helping out, how much time per day do you think you spend on it?
I haven't spent any time on it because it's been the COVID and we had meetings over the phone. So I don't know. As kids get me frustrated. When I'm frustrated, I'm able to do some things that I shouldn't do.
But yeah, you said you were working heavily on this with the other person that you had the we versus I issue with.
I'm not working happily with the new person. Being a new person is having confrontations. I fell out my other unit because we had a regional meeting. And when I got to the regional meeting, they didn't have a name tag for me. And I went off and, at the regional meeting. And they banned me from the regional meeting. And I had to go back to Houston because of my anger.
All right. There were a lot of parts of this testimony that sounded like you knew exactly what you were doing. And then there were parts of it where I was thinking, dear God, I could tear this thing apart horrifically. Scrub your Facebook account, your Twitter account completely, because the first thing as a judge I would do is I would go right to your Facebook account, take pictures of it, and then post it into my file for the writer of the brief to write about to deny you. And then the education platform, you had all this excitement and respect for what you had achieved and done and you're doing right now and yada, 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 which shows me that you have a job even though you're maybe not getting paid for the job right now. So that caused a lot of bells to ring in my head and say, how can I attack this to show that he's currently working at SGA levels even if he's not getting paid? The other thing that kind of popped up was that you lost a lot of energy about 10 minutes into the conversation. You started off strong, you started off pushing, you were doing great, and then you lost a lot of energy. You picked it back up right at the end, but you lost throughout the process energy, and you got to keep that energy up because otherwise I started to lose my faith in who you actually were based upon the stories you were telling, because as you got tired, as you started to slow down, I started to question you more and more, and it just didn't feel like you were telling me the truth. It felt like you were choosing your words as opposed to just delivering sentences to me.
Right. Okay.
Other than that, man, that was good. I saw a lot of opportunities to attack, but the reality is it's also 10:30. If you want me to run some more stuff with you, you can always give me a call. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You kind of rough, man. I really appreciate that. And everybody that's on the phone, everybody that's there, man. This is a good lawyer. I listen to him for my everything, for my military deal. I listen to him all the time, So, if you have somebody, if you need somebody, I think he'll be a good attorney. In fact, he's going to have to be an attorney. Let me ask you one question before I get up from.
Sure.
Can you sue the VA? I know about 5 months ago, a guy had cancer, and they misdiagnosed him. And it was a Supreme Court ruling that they said, yes, you can sue the VA. I'm talking about
yes, you can sue the VA just like you can sue a medical group, and what it would fall under is medical malpractice. And remember, there's also basically product-based liability. So let's say that they gave you some medication or they gave you some sort of treatment, and that ultimately had a failure to warn, product defect, or manufacturing defect. Failure to warn is it didn't have a sticker. Product defect is basically, or the doctor can tell you something to be worried about that should be known about. Product defect is basically where that particular item on the manufacturing line was defective. Not all of them, just that one particular. And then you have what's called a manufacturing defect. That's where all of the items on that manufacturing line were defective. So you've got failure to warn, product defect, manufacturing defect, and general medical malpractice, which is where they were potentially negligent. They were potentially, and then there's different levels of essentially how much they knew. It goes all the way up to a high level, which is that it doesn't matter if they knew, it didn't matter if they had intent, they're still guilty. And it goes all the way down to the very basic forms of the lower levels of negligence. And in between, there's things like, go ahead.
What if they grossly, I'm talking about with a capital T, grossly tampered with.
So here's the thing about governments that you got to keep in mind. The SSA, all these different governmental agencies protect themselves. So you got to understand, let's say that they went ahead and altered your documentation at the VA. They will destroy the evidence that they had to prove that they altered the evidence. Remember, government facilities, government agencies, government groups, they protect themselves. They are the beating heart that they put a shield around. So if they did alter whatever you have, you better have a copy of it unaltered, be able to prove that it was altered, because otherwise they will destroy any evidence as a governmental agency of it.
And I got altered. I'm going to make a copy of it, and then I'm going to send it to your office so you can look at it.
Yeah, sure. Send it over. I'll check it out, and then I'll kind of let you know. I don't do VA-based med mal claims or product label.
This is not even VA. This is a straight tampering with everything, and it's totally obvious. I'm gonna point it out to you. Hey man, thank you, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful night. Stay safe and stay healthy. Perfect. Thank you, good sir.
I'm gonna come out there and see you, man.
Excellent, right? Excellent. Have a wonderful night. Bye bye. All right. Okay, good, guys. So what we're going to do is we went a little bit over that time. We were supposed to stop around 10:05 because I started a little bit late. It is 10:34 p.m. If you do have any additional questions, remember, you can always shoot them to me in an email. You can always give me a call throughout the week. Remember, though, I have hearings all throughout every single week at this point. So I'm always in those things. And the one thing to keep in mind is that with these telephonic hearings, I don't personally know when they're going to start. So it really limits my ability to go ahead and contact you via phone, whereas it's easier for me to contact you via email, because if I'm sitting there and basically, I'm waiting for them to call me, the hearing office with the clerk that has the judge on the line, if I'm waiting for them to call me, I can always still keep emailing you. But otherwise, it's tough for me to call you back because I have to wait for them to go ahead and call me. And that's throughout the day stuff. So anyways, have an absolutely wonderful day. I'll catch you a little bit later and we'll go from there. Thank you so much for attending. And as always, if you want the most up-to-date information, you have a unique question about a particular topic, or you want a video made about a particular topic, that's fine. Shoot me something, because there is a mega list here of tons of videos that I'm going to be doing over the coming weeks. And I'm really excited to go ahead and help you guys out and do whatever I can to help you, because I know how difficult it is out there, and I know how pissed off you guys get with a lot of these big box firms that don't really connect with you. So stay healthy, stay exuberated about doing the best that you can possibly with your disability claim, and hopefully every single person on this chat will be able to be found disabled, like some of them already have. All right. Thanks so much, Attorney Walter Rudolph Hnot III with Disability Resolution PA. I'll catch you a little bit later. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.